Expedition 33 is an amazing game, but it has terribly vague in-game skill damage descriptions, just giving us low, mid and highs as a damage reference, and sometimes being straight up wrong. I couldn't find any numbers online, so I tested each skill myself and did the math in a spreadsheet to get precise numbers on how much damage they are actually doing relative to base attacks. These numbers definitely give us a better understanding of Lune's skills, and to save you some time, I will try to cover the big takeaways briefly, and then you can go ahead and take a look at the spreadsheets yourself. So let me explain this table real quick. I assume the game uses the base attack as a reference for skill damage. So I recorded the damage of a base attack and all skills hitting the same enemy, and then divided the respective skill damage numbers by this base attack value in order to get a multiplier for every skill. This column contains that multiplier of skills without meeting any special conditions like stains. So Wildfire, for example, deals exactly 1.5 times as much damage as a base attack. In this damage condition 1 table, you can then see that skill's damage multiplier when specific conditions are met. So for Wildfire, it would then deal 3 times as much damage compared to a base attack when stains are being used. I have also added the in-game skill damage descriptions here next to the actual damage multipliers to put it into perspective and see just how consistent or inconsistent these are. So when it comes to low damage abilities, it does actually make some sense. These deal roughly as much damage as a base attack, with some abilities being like at the higher end, almost reaching into the next damage tier of medium. So these are fine, I guess, but once you start comparing the low damage skills with the medium damage skills, you will have many instances of like medium dealing less damage than low damage abilities. For example, Earth Rising has a multiplier of 1.68, but Wildfire has a multiplier of 1.5, despite being like tagged as a higher damage ability. Stormcaller is another great example. It's tagged as medium damage at the end of every turn, but it's actually less damage than all the other low damage sources even, including Terraquake, which also has a turn-based damage effect, but even as a low damage skill deals more than twice as much damage as this Stormcaller medium damage effect. And this is not about whether these skills are good or not, although the numbers do help determine that. It's more about whether these descriptions add up with these numbers. And in many cases, they don't add up at all, which was my suspicion in the first place. Now the other and probably most important thing is how much elemental stains actually affect your damage. The multipliers are way higher than I expected on some abilities, but there is some consistency here. Skills that consume a single stain get around a 50% damage increase. Skills that consume 2 stains typically deal around double damage, and skills that consume 3 stains deal triple or even 5 times as much damage, which is pretty crazy and highlights just how impactful they are. Now, if you want to know which skills have the highest damage potential, we can sort by the damage max column, and you can see the highest damage and how everything else compares. The gradient attack 3, Skybreak, Genkidama being at the very top makes perfect sense. But I was surprised to see Lightning Dance, for example, and Hell, both with stains and for Lightning Dance getting all crits, actually significantly out damage Elemental Genesis. I used to think this was the highest damage, like non-gradient ability. And there are a few sleeper abilities here with Crystal Crush, I think. Crippling Tsunami also having pretty decent damage potential on an ability that costs only 5. Slows for 3 turns is AoE, as long as you have the stains. So yeah, stains once again, super important. As for abilities that are good without having the stains, Hell is still the best, but also the most expensive one. Terraquake is pretty nice, even without stains, because the 1.8 multiplier will hit 3 times and apply the 50% increased break debuff. Typhoon is very similar, but more expensive. But most importantly, you should just try to set up the stains for one of the high payoff abilities, given the massive damage gap. Anyway, hope this helps. Grab the sheet in the description, leave a like because this was a pain in the ass, and I will try to have updates for the other characters as well, so make sure to stick around. Thanks.